You're probably thinking, Josh, you look so neat and orderly with that nice sweater. A guy like me could never do anything that could be illegal or bad or get me canceled. That's not a good precursor. This isn't me telling you that I like groomed someone. This is about how I cheated a lot in high school. I cheated so much. Anytime I've talked to people about the extent of how much I cheated in high school, it starts from like fun to like sickening. Like, how did I get away with this? I went to a pretty white school. The teachers and everyone weren't like hardcore racist. They were just, they were softcore racists. They were casual racists, alright? They had the dignity to not wave around a Trump flag, but many of them were comfortable saying the N-word because like, if they're not around here, then who's gonna stop us, right? Also racist enough to go by stereotypes. And that's not so bad when Asian stereotypes are good. Yes, score one, Asians, every other race.
You're done.
I can say this confidently now, if you were a black kid in my school, you were just getting questioned by security guards. However, if you're me, if I just like hold a book, I look like I'm going to class. In reality, I haven't been to like 3 of my classes. All right, we're switching to this lighting from now on. Okay. I had a lot of kids in my grade, so I feel like it was just easy to see me as another quiet Asian kid. As someone who cheated a shit ton, it definitely worked in my favor. I think the most fucked up cheating I did was in, I believe it was like Algebra 2, some kind of sort of advanced algebra junior year. I remember it was the first day of class and seating was arranged just by last name, so I was always in the front, only for like the first few weeks. And honestly, for the first few weeks, I wasn't even that bad of a student. Like, I did just fine. However, at the same time, again, it's the first few weeks, of course it's gonna be easy. But then some new kid comes into class, and thank God. So a new kid comes in, and there's like no seats open for him. My teacher was like, oh Josh, like since you're such a good student, do you mind just sitting in the back? And for me personally, I was nearsighted, so I kind of liked sitting in the front, but at the same time, if I sat in the back, I could see the board actually the best way I can, because it was a smart board. Y'all remember that? This class had a smart board, which meant that it was connected to my teacher's computer in the back of the class. So I'm just like, kind of way in the back. A lot of things lined up well. There were also a lot of really loud kids in the class that were kind of in the front. So a lot of the time my teacher was kind of micromanaging the loud kids in the front and keeping them at bay. And again, I'm like sitting in the corner of the room. And technically, like by the way I was sitting, my back was turned. And sometimes I would turn around to see the front to look like I was paying attention. But if we were writing a lot, like it made more sense to just be practically sitting in front of my teacher's computer, just writing along with notes that I see on the screen instead of looking at the class. So where the cheating comes in is pretty much just the fact that I was literally at his desk. He left like everything out. He wouldn't just leave worksheets out. He would leave answer keys out to the homework or just like stuff that he's grading. It was just a bunch of shit. He was teaching other classes too, so it was just like a mismatch, but I could easily tell which papers belonged to which class. What I would do, just as habit, is I would walk into class, looking down at my phone, like a normal thing for a teen to do. I'm actually just taking pictures of whatever is on the desk. So I had this like whole system where I would like put my bag down, then like kind of rifle through his papers. And this is all with my back turned to him. Let's just pretend that the class is right behind me and my bag is here. I'm just like kind of rummaging through his shit and then putting it back together. I eventually had such a good system down that I practically wasn't even taking the class anymore, because I was able to take pictures of almost all the answers of every quiz or test. I was just like reading manga in this class. And the worst part was this guy like really trusted me. Like he thought I was like a great kid. He wasn't like a senile old man. He was just like more of like a kind old man. He had a lot of students. He wasn't just teaching my class. I'm pretty sure he was teaching another level of math. He's just a busy guy. So his desk kind of reflected that. He had a lot of papers. It wasn't like the most crazy thing for papers of his to get lost. So I hate to say it, but many times I would do this thing. Let's say I take a test and I'm sitting in the back. So when we took tests in this class, at the end of the period, you're supposed to hand your test forward. It just passes the person in front of you, and he collects it at the end. However, something I did often was pretend that I needed more time. I would just time it perfectly. Like no one caught me doing this. In the middle of everyone rummaging and getting up to leave, I would just put my test in my backpack, take it home, and find the answers either online or from a friend and do it at home. And then the next day, I would come into class. I swear to God, his desk was always there's always like some piles that were a little too close to each other, whether it was papers that he was grading for one class next to papers he was grading in another. I would just throw it in to one of those piles, and he wouldn't question it at all. He would be like, "Oh, Josh, for some reason I can't find yours. I'm so sorry. Like, oh, I just have so many papers. Must have just gotten lost, but I'm definitely gonna find it." And he would technically find it, but that's because I just found some point in class to just find a pile of papers to put it in. But the most consistent thing throughout all of this is that I swear to God, I didn't know a single thing taught in this class. The only way that you could prove that I didn't know anything at all in this class is if I were to be taking a test that's heavily monitored, it's difficult to cheat, and I'm not literally sitting at my teacher's desk where I can do my little take home the test trick. Only then would you be able to put together that I am not actually paying attention in this class. Well, that did happen, because we had to take a final at the end of the year. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure I got away with midterms because it was still early enough material that I can kind of bullshit my way through it enough to the point where it looks like I kind of passed. I remember I didn't do too bad on like midterms or anything. But so we take the final, which is, like I said, it's heavily monitored. I'm not at my teacher's desk. I don't have my phone on me. Oh, that's another thing too. Because I would take pictures of the tests ahead of time, I would just like put my phone like here. It's math. And if you don't know formulas or how to show work, then you just don't know how to do it at all. That was me. I literally didn't know how to do it at all, which is why, even though I was a straight A student for the whole year, I got a 13 on the final. How does a straight A student get a 13 on the test? That is what I assume my math teacher was thinking. But it didn't matter that I got a 13 because my grades were already so good that it averaged out to like, I think maybe at worst like a B- in the class. I don't know, I can't remember. But I got a 13 on the final of a class I was like practically a straight A student in. And then a whole summer passes, school starts again, I'm in senior year. I don't know if it was the math department or if that even was a thing. It was like a guidance counselor's office. And I was actually trying to drop a math class, which I was only able to do because I did so well in my kind of advanced math class from the year before. And at the guidance counselor's office, I literally run into my old math teacher. And he's like, "Josh, I've been meaning to ask you, what happened on the final, man? Like, I just didn't expect you to do so poorly." He was a very pleasant man. And I just replied like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I can only assume that, for the multiple choice part, I just think I mismarked on my Scantron." And after a whole year of bullshitting this poor man, there's just a look on his face where he's like, "All right." Like, he literally says like, "All right. Yeah, I don't know, Josh. It definitely seemed a bit odd." And I swear to God, he must have just pieced it all together. That this poor old man got straight up played by a 16-year-old. But you know what? That is what you get. Just because I'm a quiet Asian kid in your math class that's doing well doesn't mean that I'm actually studying and paying attention. That's your fault for believing in dumb stereotypes like Asians are good at math. We're not all good at math. That is what you get for following these horrible, outdated stereotypes, and that is why you should treat everyone equally and assume if you let a kid sit at your desk, he is going to take advantage of that position, whether he's Asian or not. Thank you.